now that we finally got you playing some notes, I think it's about time that we also teach you some scales as well. We're going to focus on the chromatic scale specifically, so that you can also pick up some more notes along the way. So, the first note in the chromatic scale we're going to be playing is the low C. So, for low C, you want all 3 finger keys in the left hand, all 3 in the right, and you also want the lower spatula key in the right hand. For C sharp or D flat, you're going to want to add the left side middle spatula key in the left hand. For D, we're going to lift both spatula keys and just play all 6 finger keys down. 3 in the left, 3 in the right. For D sharp, also known as E flat, we're going to add the top spatula key in the right hand. Moving on to E, we lift both the 3rd finger key in the right hand as well as the top spatula key in the right hand. Now, for F sharp and G flat, there are actually 2 distinct ways of playing each of them. We're going to focus on the G flat for now because that's the one you would use when you're ascending, because it's an easier finger movement to move to than the one associated with F sharp. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3 in the left hand, 1 in the right hand, and this side key over here with your ring finger in the right hand. G, we've covered this one before. All 3 finger keys in the left hand. For G sharp, also known as A flat, you add the top spatula key in the left hand. A, we've covered this one too. It's just the first 2 finger keys in the left hand. Now, A sharp and or B flat is where it gets a little bit tricky. This one is a bit different in the way that you're going to want to use the A sharp when you're ascending rather than the B flat, which is first 2 finger keys in the left hand and the 3rd of the side keys in your right hand. From there, we move on to B, which once again we've covered before, first finger key in the left hand. Now for C, this one actually has 2 ways of playing it. The one we're going to be using for ascending is the first finger key in the left hand and the 2nd palm key in the right hand. C sharp is actually not holding down anything at all. You're just blowing into the saxophone as is. Whereas D, you're going to be using all the fingerings. Well, not literally all of them, all the finger keys plus the octave key because, well, this is an octave higher than the D we used before. Oh, that's a bit too high. That's more like it. From there, it's going to be remarkably similar to many of the notes that we covered before, just with the octave key added. So, for D sharp or E flats, but in the higher octave, once again, you're going to be adding the top spatula key in the right hand. Lifting it, as well as the ring finger in the right hand for E, then the 2nd finger in the right hand for F, then for G flat, we are going to be implementing the 3rd of the palm keys, much like before. For G, literally the same as the G I taught you, but with the octave key. G sharp or A flats, top spatula key, left hand. A, as before, but with the octave key. A sharp, like before, with the side key and 2 fingers. B, same as before, but with the octave key. C, much like before, you're using the 2nd palm key. And then C sharp, it's open once again, but you're holding down the octave key. Now, the D is where it gets a little bit different. Since here, you're going to be using one of these 3. In fact, you're going to be using the one that's the furthest out. And it is by far and away the highest note in this scale. Descending, you're going to be going from this one back to open, but when we get to C, you're instead going to use the second finger key in your left hand. So, observe. Right there. But then, you're going to go back to B. Rather than use that palm key again, though, there are actually two you can use. For descending, you can either keep your finger on the first finger key and add this little one right here. This is called the bis key. You use it pretty specifically for whenever you're playing B flats, preferably when you're descending. So you could do it this way. Or, alternatively, you can have one finger in the left and first finger in the right, and get a very similar sound. From there, you're going to move to two fingers on the finger keys in your left hand, then back down to G sharp with the top key of the spatula keys, G as normal. For F sharp, though, it gets a little different. Here, once you're actually going to add the second key in the right hand finger keys. Then you're going to take off the second finger and replace it with the first for F. For E, you're actually going to put down the second finger again in the right hand. For E flat and or D sharp, both the third finger key and the top spatula key in the right hand are going down. You're removing the spatula key for D. You're going back to open for C sharp or D flats. For moving down to C, you're going to be using the second finger key specifically because you're descending. For B, we're going to be using that first finger again and only that. It's the same rules as before for B flat but without the octave key. Either the 1 and the bis key or the 1 in the left, 1 in the right. For A, back to 2. For G sharp or A flat, we're going to go all three finger keys in left plus the pinky key in left as well. Lifting the spatula key up for G, putting down the second finger key in the right hand for F sharp or G flat, or for F sharp or G flat, exchanging it for the first finger key for F, back down for E. Then we have the third finger key and the higher spatula key for G sharp or E flat. We're taking off the higher spatula key for D once again. Then it's going to be the lower spatula key in the right hand and the left side spatula key in the right. Then we're lifting up the left side spatula key in the left hand. And then we're just playing C as normal. Should you want to, though we're not covering it specifically for this right here, there's also B, which is all those except with the right side spatula key in the left hand, and then B flat, which is replacing the right side spatula key with the lowest spatula key in the left hand.